Support comes from Onyx Auto Detail in Carson, California. It's Shifted Perspective on Sociology of Cars podcast. I'm your host, Shift, a professional test driver and Porsche Driving Instructor. My goal is to guide you on your journey as an enthusiast, making it as easy as possible. My ethos: don't ignite the problem, fuel the solution. For this week's topic, picking the right mechanic. Car buying is hard, especially as an enthusiast. If you're a regular person, you'd be reliant on a professional to guide you on what needs to get done. As an enthusiast, it becomes the first chapter for us. It's a constant worry as we modify our cars. Choosing the right mechanic for changing your aftermarket suspension, brakes, power adders, tuning, and so on becomes crucial. My very first mechanic experience was terrible. I was 18 and I didn't know any better. I would like to share this horror story along with helping you figure out your mechanic that fits your needs, which I will touch on later. I first purchased my car not running. The 7MGE Supra engine was blown. A piston literally punched through the block. Not having any mechanical knowledge, I found the closest mechanic that worked on imports. When I visited the shop, it reminded me of an old junkyard, and the mechanic fit the typical stereotype of a grease monkey. He had oil-stained overalls, smelled like burnt gas. He was a crusty man that looked like he lived a rough life. However, despite all those things, being naive, I trusted that he could fix my car to my liking. My only expectation was for the car to run properly. I was hoping the car would have no issues, and if it did, I trusted that he would mention anything worth fixing along the way. He even offered his own tow truck to come pick up the car. I thought this was great service, and it made me even more eager to have it fixed by him. He told me to give him several weeks to have it completed. What I got back in return was a disappointment. The car leaked fluids from the engine, transmission, coolant system, power steering, and more. He never even checked anything else. I later discovered that the engine consumed an excessive amount of oil. The air filter clogged with leaves and dead bugs. The other fluids were dark like chocolate. When I braked, the steering wheel shook violently to a stop, and the struts were so blown that the car would just bounce down the street. I wondered to myself, if he's the expert, why did he not recommend fixing anything else? During the tow, he even damaged my front bumper as well. When I took it back to address those concerns, he rejected me. He didn't want to touch my car anymore, as he claimed he did everything that he could. He also didn't even apologize for the bumper that he damaged, because he said the rest of the car already looked like it was in rough condition. Not only did I feel insulted, but also taken advantage of. After this experience, I could only imagine how many others have gone through a similar experience, if not worse. The FDA requires food companies to label their calories and other nutritional value, but no one checks their accuracy on foods. Just like anyone could hire a lawyer, they will defend you, but the quality of service is not equal across the board. Over the years, we learn which restaurants to eat at, what stores to shop at, what our bodies like, and so on. Mechanic shops can be very much the same, but the average person isn't exposed in the same ways to determine a good mechanic. After graduating from Universal Technical Institute, I worked at some dealerships and small shops. Some mechanics get official training from their employer, while others just learn on the job. No matter the experience, some of them will cut corners to get the job done quicker. I've seen cars come back with engine failure weeks after a mechanic poorly assembled the engine. Brake jobs that had warped rotors resurfaced and the same used pads put back on. Broken wheel studs from over-torquing the lug nuts or not torquing them enough and having your wheels fall off on the drive home. There's a lack of pride in their work. What's shocking is that people's safety is jeopardized when trusting these quote-unquote professionals, and the mechanics working on them could care less. Since no one regulates their quality of work, it's unfortunate that we must figure it out through trial and error. If you're someone that wants little involvement with your vehicle's repair, then dealerships are your safest bet. Everything is covered under factory warranty. They operate by the book and strictly follow the repairing and replacing process. Repairing and replacing is a systematic approach for the dealerships, keeping the car as close to OEM as possible. Their goal is to revert everything back to how the car rolled off the showroom floor. For most people that drive daily drivers, a simple R&R is all that's needed. Let's refer to this as level 1 of basic maintenance. This isn't ideal for the average enthusiast, especially if you modify your cars. Imagine if you had track pads on your car, brought it into the dealership for servicing, and you mentioned a brake squeal. After inspection, they would recognize your pad and recommend you to switch back to OEM. They wouldn't understand why anyone would remove the OEM pad for a noisy track pad. Similar to having aftermarket suspension requiring an alignment, chances are your dealership wouldn't touch it. They would tell you that those components are not OEM, and they wouldn't want the liability for working on parts considered for off-road use only. They may even recommend you going back to OEM just because it's the closest to factory alignment as possible. If you're an enthusiast that adds power mods to your car, you've probably seen it throw a check engine light. If you brought that into your dealership for an inspection, once they discover the code was caused by your aftermarket bolt-ons, they would recommend you going back to OEM to resolve the code. More than likely, they may not even work on your car. You can see how this can be a problem for the enthusiasts wanting to modify their daily drivers. For those enthusiasts that want to modify their cars, finding a specialty shop would be ideal. For example, adding aftermarket suspension with adjustments will require a special alignment that focuses on installs, height adjustment, corner balancing, and more. For high-performance driving, this is the bare minimum, as it requires someone with the understanding and knowledge of how to fine-tune the vehicle to your needs. If you prefer aesthetics and want to lower your car on wheels, finding the right spring rate, struts, height drop are crucial for your car's fitment of longevity of the strut. Some springs have an aggressive drop and may even cause your struts to fail prematurely. These typically need to be matched to a strut designed for that height, spring rate, and proper travel distance. Many enthusiasts buy aftermarket wheels and tires. However, changing the tire width to a larger size requires knowledge for fitment and performance gains. The same goes for aftermarket wheels. Switching to the widest wheels isn't always ideal. Some are very heavy, some are low quality, and they may not even last as long. Some setups may require additional modifications for it to work properly. Wheel spacers, aftermarket lug nuts, and possibly extended studs may be used for that purpose. I can go on and on. Steering wheel spacers, aftermarket steering wheels, bucket seats, pedal extenders, and so on. Because of all these nuances, some mechanics are specific to a make and model or a specific driving style, or even both. It takes them many years to master their craft. They are no longer your mechanic. They are now your consultant for configuring your car. Let's refer to this as level 2 of modifications and maintenance. These shops are not always easy to find, but through referrals and involvement in the car community, you may find exactly what you're looking for. For the few remaining, these enthusiasts go extreme with their builds. Big power and engine drivetrain builds, restoring a car to its original condition, resto mods, anything require a custom tune, or building a full-blown race car. This is what I would refer to as level 3, extreme modified builds. This level of mechanic is extremely niche. It's beyond most people, but these are the small percentage of enthusiasts that take that route. Having the mindset comes with understanding that you need to pay to play. It's all about emotional hype that leads us to these decisions. Most of us will fall under the level 2 category, both maintenance and modifications. Some land on 1, a few in 3. No matter what category you fall under, understanding your goals from the very beginning is a great start. What is the car being used for? Knowing the purpose of your build will help you find the right mechanic. Being smarter with your choices can help improve the success of your outcome. Even then, you may stumble across a few rotten eggs, but this will lead you to your mechanic eventually. Knowing your budget will help prevent some headaches too. You can easily go over budget without having any guidelines as to what you're trying to accomplish. Consider the shop appearance. It's important, but it's not everything. A shop doesn't need to look like a showroom, but organization and cleanliness are green flags. Quality of work can be a direct reflection of how their shop is. If someone you know had some work done and they're satisfied with the outcome, chances are the shop does good work. The shop may be booked for a few weeks at a time, which is also a green flag. The types of cars that they work on is an indicator as well. Are the cars clapped out beaters, or are they quality builds? If the average car looks like it came off a showroom, probably also green flags. I also noticed that shops that have the words racing and motorsports in their titles tend to have nothing to do with performance driving. Some of the most reputable shops that have been in the industry for some time have a humble title. Many of the mechanics are grassroots who have found methods that work properly. They don't need a flashy title to attract attention because the right customer will always find them as their work speaks for themselves. As an enthusiast, you do meet people along the way that can help you point you in the right direction. If you visit HPDE Driving, chances are you'll be referred to a mechanic that focuses on that style of driving. If not, at the very least, they may know someone else that does. As your driving aptitude rises, as you partake in time trials or other special driving events, joining car clubs and seeing modifications being done, or visiting driving experience centers like Porsche and meeting people that share the same want to drive, these people will just appear. Shifted Perspective is produced by Sociology of Everything, supported by Onyx Detail. I'm your host, Shift. Please feel free to reach out to me on social media found in the description, or email me at shift@sociologyofeverything. Don't ignite the problem, fuel the solution. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next week.